The mockery begins. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with light and pride. Alien leaders from dozens of species sat on their high seats, banners of their empires hanging behind them. It was the place where laws of the stars were made, and where weak races were judged by the strong today. One subject made the chamber laugh more than any other: humanity. The human envoy stood alone at the center. His uniform was plain, his eyes calm. He was a small figure compared to the towering insectoids, the armored reptilians, and the glowing crystal-born. Yet he spoke with steady voice. Humanity asks you to respect our borders. We have weapons that you do not yet understand. They are called railguns. The chamber erupted in laughter. An insectoid delegate clapped its claws together and hissed, "Railguns? You throw pieces of metal? How primitive." A reptilian overlord smacked his scaled tail against the floor, roaring with amusement. "We have plasma cannons that burn moons, antimatter warheads that erase fleets, and you humans bring toys from your caves." But the human did not react. He did not shout or argue. He simply repeated, "Do not test them. You have been warned." His words were met with more laughter. The crystal-born sang in mocking tones, their bodies glowing brighter. "Your kind still uses fire to cook food, and now you ask us to fear iron rods." The Galactic Council loved a good joke, and this one would last for many cycles. The humans were new to the stars, small in number, their colonies barely spreading across a handful of systems. To the great empires, they were nothing more than a curiosity. The Council sent their envoy back with smiles and mockery. No treaties, no respect, but whispers began to spread. In the darker corners of the galaxy, some captains spoke of strange encounters. A patrol ship once scanned a human cruiser and found massive barrels mounted along its hull. The readings showed no plasma, no energy buildup, only simple magnets. The alien captain laughed and ignored it, writing in his report, "Primitive toys. No threat." Another rumor told of a pirate band who tried to raid a human convoy. Only one human ship defended it. The pirates expected easy loot. Yet one shot tore through their leader's vessel, leaving nothing but molten fragments drifting in space. Survivors swore they had never seen such power. They whispered of projectiles moving faster than their eyes could track. Still, the empires ignored it. Pride blinded them. Plasma and antimatter had ruled for thousands of years. Energy weapons were the crown of civilization. To them, metal projectiles belonged to the age of stone and smoke. Railguns were nothing more than a desperate invention of a weak race. Back on Earth, the humans worked in silence. Engineers, soldiers, and scientists labored together. Railgun platforms were built on orbital stations. Massive warships were armed with batteries of these silent weapons, each one capable of firing a solid slug at a fraction of light speed. No shields could resist such force. No armor could hold against it, but the humans kept their secret. They spoke little, they waited. The Galactic Council sent another message to Earth, full of arrogance. "You are forbidden from expanding beyond your sector. Do not build fleets beyond defense level." Their tone was sharp. Filled with superiority, the humans answered with a single reply. "We do not seek war, but if war is brought to us, we will answer." Again, the Council laughed. To them, humanity's words were like the bark of a small animal, loud but harmless. They did not see the danger waiting behind those calm human eyes. The galaxy moved on. Alien wars raged in distant sectors. Empires rose and fell. The humans were forgotten in the noise of greater powers. But in the silence of Earth's orbit, railguns were tested again and again. Slugs fired into empty space, targets reduced to dust. Calculations refined, strategies built. The first hints of fear came from traders. Alien merchants who traveled near human space reported wrecks of pirate fleets, all destroyed in the same way, holes punched clean through ships as if a god had drawn a line with fire. The Council dismissed it as accidents, blaming pirates' poor machines. But captains who saw the wrecks whispered otherwise. The human envoy returned once more. This time his message was shorter. "You laughed before, but we will not warn you again." He stood there. Surrounded by mocking smiles, the insectoid hissed again. "What will you do, little human? Throw stones at our fleets?" The reptilian laughed with a sound like thunder. "You speak as if you are gods, yet you crawl among the stars like children." The envoy gave no answer. He turned, walked out, and disappeared into the shadows of the chamber. His silence was louder than any words. For the first time, a few of the elder species felt a chill. They had seen this calm before, They remembered how other races once warned before rising to power. But the council dismissed their worries, calling them cowards. Thus the stage was set. Humanity had been mocked, its warnings ignored, its weapons dismissed. The galaxy believed in their own superiority. They believed in plasma and antimatter. They believed in their pride, and so they laughed, not knowing that the joke would one day end with silence. Denial in the stars. The Galactic Council believed the matter was finished. To them, the humans were noisy newcomers who had overestimated their worth. They laughed, they mocked, and then they returned to their own business. The galaxy was too large, too full of empires and wars, for them to waste time on a young species from a blue planet. Yet whispers still spread. Patrol fleets reported strange encounters near human borders. Alien scouts returned with unusual data. Massive rail structures on orbital stations, readings of high magnetic fields, and ships that carried long dark barrels instead of glowing plasma cannons. These reports were presented to the council, but they were quickly pushed aside. "Humans are children," said the insectoid speaker, clicking his mandibles. "Children build toys, let them play. They are no danger." "Even if they have these weapons," the reptilian general growled, "what can they do? Our shields deflect plasma storms, antimatter rips open suns. Do you truly think a lump of metal can stop us?" The chamber roared with laughter again. The reports were filed away, left to gather dust in the endless archives. But not everyone was laughing. On the edges of the empire, captains and traders saw things the council ignored. A convoy of alien freighters once passed through human space under agreement of trade. They returned whispering of human warships that carried weapons longer than their own hulls. They spoke of humans drilling with precision, moving like a single body, never boasting, never careless. Pirates too learned fear. One pirate lord, famous for raiding border colonies, sent his fleet against a human mining station. He expected riches, he expected surrender. Instead, his fleet never returned. Only wreckage was found. Ships split clean in half, holes carved so perfect they looked like the work of a cosmic blade. Survivors spoke of silent thunder, of weapons that killed before sensors could track the shot. Still, the empires refused to believe. They called the survivors liars. They said the humans bribed them. They said the pirates destroyed themselves by accident. Denial spread faster than truth. Back on Earth, humanity was not idle. Engineers improved railgun speed, testing new slugs with tungsten and depleted uranium. Scientists built rotating launch systems to fire continuously. Soldiers trained on simulators, studying how to fight larger fleets. They knew war would come, not because they wanted it, but because prideful aliens would bring it. Human leaders debated in silence. Some argued for peace, others said war was inevitable. Yet all agreed on one thing: railguns were their answer. They could not match plasma with plasma. They could not build antimatter bombs like the empires, but they could strike harder and faster with the tools they had mastered. The galaxy began to notice small disappearances. A raiding fleet lost here, a patrol gone silent there. Rumors spread of human weapons punching holes through everything. Denial grew harder to hold, yet the council clung to it. For to admit fear of humans would mean admitting weakness. One alien historian spoke in the chamber. His voice was old and heavy. "I have studied thousands of wars. Always it is the same: a new weapon is mocked, ignored, dismissed until it rewrites the rules of battle. Do not make this mistake." But the council silenced him, calling him senile. They said humanity could never rise. They said the galaxy had seen thousands of races like them. They said the same line again and again: metal cannot defeat fire. Meanwhile, human fleets drilled in the dark of space, battleships lined in formation, railguns gleaming in silence. No boasting, no announcements, no shows of power. Just quiet preparation, quiet patience. A reptilian commander, eager for glory, sent a small fleet into human territory. He declared it would be a demonstration, a reminder that humans should not grow too bold. His ships crossed the border, their plasma weapons charged, their shields glowing bright. They expected surrender, they expected fear. Instead, they vanished. Only one broken vessel limped back, its hull torn open, its crew whispering in madness. They spoke of slugs moving faster than light itself. They spoke of entire ships breaking apart with no warning. They spoke of humans who did not shout, did not laugh, but simply fired once and watched in silence. The council received the report, but once more they laughed. "A commander's failure," they said. "His shame makes him invent human strength to cover his own weakness." Thus denial continued, the stars filled with rumors, warnings and wrecks, but the galaxy still believed in its pride. They believed nothing could challenge them. They believed humanity was weak. They believed their power eternal. And so the stage darkened further. Humanity kept building in silence. The galaxy kept laughing in arrogance. The tension grew heavier. Like a storm waiting behind the horizon, like thunder waiting in silence, the railguns slept in their barrels, waiting for the moment when laughter would turn to fear. The first strike. The galaxy had laughed for too long, and humanity knew it. The Council's arrogance grew larger with every denial, every report dismissed, every warning silenced. To the great empires, humans were a stubborn but harmless race. To humanity, the silence of preparation was over. It was time for proof on the edge of human space. A small colony world orbited a red star. It was quiet, its people miners and farmers, living simple lives. But above it, a human defense fleet waited. Their orders were clear: do not fire unless provoked. The admirals wanted peace, but they knew peace would never last far beyond. An alien patrol fleet entered the system. Their ships were sleek and curved. Powered by plasma drives, they moved with arrogance, broadcasting messages into space. By order of the Galactic Council, humans are forbidden to expand further. Leave your colonies, abandon your weapons, or face judgment. The human fleet did not reply. They held formation, calm and silent. Their railguns tracked the alien vessels but did not fire. The alien commander laughed at the silence. They fear us, they hide behind toys, he hissed to his crew. We will show them true weapons, the alien fleet charged. Plasma lit the void. Energy bolts streaked across space. Human shields flared as bright spheres of heat slammed against them. Still, the humans did not fire. They held steady, waiting. The alien commander roared for full assault, confident that the humans would crumble. Then the order came. A single word passed through human channels, short and final. Fire! The first railgun slug launched. It moved so fast that even sensors struggled to track it. A glowing rod of tungsten tore through space. It pierced the lead alien cruiser as if it were made of glass. The slug ripped through shields, shredded armor, and continued forward, smashing into another ship. 2 vessels were destroyed in the time it took for the aliens to blink. The alien fleet froze in shock. Crews screamed in confusion. Sensors reported impossible numbers. They had never seen kinetic energy like this. It was not fire, it was not plasma. It was raw force, pure and unstoppable. A second volley followed. Slugs the size of cars shot out at fractions of light speed. Each one carried the power of a meteor. One slug cut straight through a battleship, splitting it in half. Another pierced a carrier, igniting its reactor in a blinding explosion. Alien screams filled comms as their fleet broke apart. The galaxy had seen wars for millennia, plasma storms that burned worlds, antimatter that shattered fleets, but never had they seen silence used as a weapon. Railguns made no sound, no glow, no spectacle. They simply fired and ships died. The alien commander shouted for retreat. His voice cracked with fear. Fall back, shields are useless. Fall back. But there was no escape. Human railguns did not miss one by one. Alien ships vanished into debris, their shields shattered like paper, their armor shredded like cloth. When the firing stopped, silence returned to the system. The human fleet remained untouched, their formation still perfect. Wreckage of alien ships drifted across the stars. Burning slowly in the void, only one ship limped away. Engines failing, its crew broken, its commander pale with horror. He would be the one to tell the story. The survivors returned to the council, their words carried in trembling voices. Shields do nothing, plasma is worthless. Their slugs tear through everything, they fight like machines. They do not laugh, they do not boast. They just fire once and everything ends. The council chamber erupted, not with laughter this time, but with outrage. Leaders shouted over one another, "Impossible, it is lies. No weapon can defeat our fleets." But the evidence was undeniable. Wreckage was recovered, holes burned clean through warships, metal melted and twisted in ways no plasma could explain. Still, the council chose pride. They declared the alien commander incompetent. They said his fleet was weak. They said humanity had only won by luck. But behind closed doors, fear spread. Messages raced between empires. Scientists studied the wrecks in silence. Generals whispered of human weapons in secret meetings. Back on Earth, the people did not celebrate. The victory was not seen as glory. It was seen as survival. They knew the council would not stop. They knew more fleets would come, and so they built more railguns, bigger, faster, stronger. Humanity was ready to defend itself again and again. The galaxy, however, was split. Some races began to fear. Some thought of peace. But the greater empires, blinded by pride, prepared for war. They could not admit weakness. They could not accept that humans had defeated them with what they called toys. And so the first strike became legend, whispered across the stars. A warning ignored, a truth denied. The moment when laughter began to fade, and the soundless thunder of humanity's railguns echoed across the galaxy. Humanity stands firm. The council chamber was no longer filled with laughter, but with noise. Voices shouted over one another. Some demanded war, others whispered of peace. The reports from the survivors still echoed in the air. Railguns had destroyed an entire fleet in moments. Yet even with proof floating in space, the great empires could not agree. The insectoid speaker clattered his claws against the stone floor. It was luck. Humans cannot build weapons greater than ours. One strike does not make them powerful. The reptilian general slammed his tail. Then let us test them again, send a larger fleet, show them who rules the stars. And so it was decided. The council prepared more ships, stronger and deadlier. They thought to crush humanity under numbers. They thought the railguns would fail when faced with overwhelming force. Pride still ruled them, and fear was buried deep beneath arrogance. Back on Earth, the news of the first strike spread. Humanity did not celebrate. There were no fireworks, no cheers. The people of Earth and its colonies understood the truth. This was only the beginning. The council would not stop. More fleets would come. War was no longer a possibility, it was certain. Human leaders gathered in silence. In vast underground bunkers and orbital stations, they spoke plainly. The galaxy will not leave us in peace. We must prepare. We must stand firm. Engineers worked without rest. Factories ran without pause. Railgun barrels were built longer. Their slugs heavier, their speed greater. Orbital platforms grew like towers around Earth, glowing with power. The admirals of humanity were not proud men. They were not filled with boasting. They were calm. They studied every report, every scan, every whisper. They knew the council would underestimate them again, and they prepared to meet that arrogance with cold iron. In the colonies, people trained. Soldiers drilled day and night. Farmers carried rifles. Miners learned to fight. Humanity stood as one. For the first time in centuries, there were no borders between nations. No divisions. The stars had united them, and the threat of the galaxy made them strong. A message was sent from Earth to the council. It was short, simple, and clear. We do not seek war, but we will not kneel. We will not surrender. Cross our borders again, and you will pay the price. The council mocked the message. Leaders sneered. They speak as if they are gods, one said. They dare to threaten us? Another shouted. But behind their words was unease, for deep inside, they remembered the reports, the wreckage, the silence after the first strike. Among the smaller races of the galaxy, fear began to grow into respect. Merchants spoke quietly of human power. Traders whispered of human fleets. Some even began to seek alliances, sending secret envoys to Earth, but humanity stayed quiet. They made no promises. They revealed no secrets. They only prepared. In the dark of space, human fleets moved like shadows. New warships rolled out from shipyards, their hulls lined with endless railguns, their crews trained in silence, learning discipline, patience, and unity. Every man and woman knew the truth. The next strike would be bigger, deadlier, and the whole galaxy would be watching. The council, blind in arrogance, believed they still held power. They told their people that humans were weak, that the railgun story was a myth. They promised swift victory. They called the humans fools who dared to stand against empires thousands of years old. But in the hearts of their generals, in the eyes of their captains, a shadow of fear remained. They remembered the first strike. They remembered ships splitting in half. They remembered silence. Humanity stood calm, the people worked. The fleets drilled, the leaders waited. They did not threaten again. They did not boast, they simply prepared. Railguns rested in silence, slugs stored deep in armories waiting to be unleashed. Across the stars, tension grew. Rumors spread faster than truth. The galaxy began to divide. Some laughed still. Others trembled in secret, and through it all, humanity stood firm. Like a mountain before the storm, the council thought the humans were foolish to wait, but they did not understand. Humanity had learned through centuries of struggle, through wars on their own world. That patience was a weapon. They knew the storm would come, and they were ready to endure it. Thus, Part 4 closed with silence. Humanity did not seek to strike. Humanity did not rush, they stood like iron, waiting for the galaxy to make its next move, waiting for the laughter to end. The war unleashed, the galaxy could no longer ignore humanity. The whispers had grown too loud, the wrecks too many. The fear too sharp, the council, pushed by pride and anger, gathered a fleet unlike any seen before, thousands of ships, shining with plasma fire and armed with antimatter bombs. They called it the Grand Armada, a hammer meant to crush the humans once and for all. In the council chambers, the leaders stood proud. This will be the end of the human defiance, one hissed. We will erase their colonies, we will burn their homeworld, and their railguns will be remembered as nothing more than dust. But among the younger officers, silence lingered. They had seen the reports. They had heard the survivors. They remembered the holes cut through steel as if it were paper. Still, no one dared speak. Pride drowned their voices. The Armada moved across the stars like a tide. Each system trembled as their fleets passed. Civilizations watched in awe, their skies filled with alien fire. The galaxy believed humanity had no chance. No species could stand against so many. No species could resist such power. Yet humanity did not run. They did not beg for peace. They stood waiting, in orbit around Earth. In the void of their colonies, fleets of human warships formed lines. Railgun barrels gleamed in the dark. Soldiers stood at their stations, hands steady, eyes calm. They had trained for this moment. They had prepared for this storm. In the command deck of the lead human battleship, Admiral Reyes spoke quietly. They think numbers will save them. They think pride will shield them. They will learn. Around him, his crew nodded. No one shouted, no one boasted. Humanity needed no words, only silence. The first alien scouts entered human space. Their sensors lit up with strange readings. Railgun platforms hidden in asteroid belts. Warships drifting like shadows, orbital cannons on moons. The reports returned, but it was too late. The Armada pressed forward, then it began. The human fleet fired first. A storm of slugs erupted from railguns. Tungsten rods, heavier than tanks, faster than thought, tore through the void. The first wave of alien ships was shredded instantly. Shields flickered and died. Armor melted, reactors burst like stars. The Armada staggered, thousands of voices crying in shock. But still, they pushed forward. Plasma cannons blazed, antimatter bombs launched. The sky filled with fire. Human shields burned bright. Ships shook under the storm, yet railguns kept firing. Silent, relentless, unstoppable. One slug cut through 5 ships in a row. Another pierced a massive carrier, splitting it in 2. Human formations moved with precision. Every shot counted, every strike exact. The Armada was breaking. Alien commanders screamed orders. Close the distance, overwhelm them, break their lines. But the closer they came, the deadlier it became at short range. Railguns fired faster, harder, with more precision. Alien ships were ripped apart like paper before a storm. A reptilian dreadnought, larger than any human ship, charged forward. Its hull glowed with layered shields. Its cannons roaring, it declared itself invincible. Humanity answered with a single concentrated volley. Dozens of slugs slammed into it at once. The shields cracked, the armor buckled, and the dreadnought exploded in a burst of light that blinded the stars. Panic spread, fleets began to break formation. Captains begged for retreat, shields useless, weapons useless. Nothing can stop them. The Armada, once proud and endless, now looked like scattered prey before a predator on Earth. The people watched the battle through endless screens. They did not cheer, they did not celebrate. They only prayed for survival, prayed for endurance. Humanity was not fighting for glory. They were fighting to live, in the council chambers far away. Leaders listened to the chaos, the screams of their fleets, the silence of destroyed ships. They felt the weight of their arrogance, but it was too late. The storm they had mocked now tore through them, and no word, no order, no pride could stop it. Hours later, the battle ended. Silence returned to human space. Alien wrecks drifted like broken bones across the stars. Human fleet stood intact, scarred but standing. The Grand Armada, the pride of the galaxy, was gone. The survivors limped away, their voices broken. It was not war, one whispered. It was slaughter. They did not fight like us. They did not speak like us, they only fired. And we died. The galaxy had changed. The laughter was gone. The pride was shattered. And humanity stood firm, their railguns smoking, their soldiers silent, their people unbroken. The war had been unleashed, and the galaxy had paid the price. Regret in the halls of power. The council chamber was silent. For the first time in centuries, no laughter filled its walls. The banners of proud empires still hung, but their colors seemed faded. Their leaders sat heavy in their seats. Their voices gone, the Grand Armada had been destroyed, and the galaxy trembled under the weight of that truth. The insectoid speaker who once mocked humans now tapped his claws nervously. His voice cracked. How could this happen? How could a young race break our greatest fleet? The reptilian general who once promised victory slammed his tail weakly. No roar left in him. We underestimated, we laughed. We ignored every warning. Now our fleets are dust, reports piled on the great table. Messages from broken commanders, fragments of wreckage carried back by fleeing ships. Every page told the same story. Railguns had torn through shields, armor, pride, and hope. Every voice cried the same words. We could not stop them. Some leaders whispered for peace, their voices low and trembling. Send envoys, ask for truce. Beg if we must, others shouted in anger, not at the humans, but at themselves. We should have listened, we should have prepared. We should not have mocked. The chamber was not filled with unity, but with regret. In the dark corners of the galaxy, fear spread like fire. Smaller races who once bowed to the council now questioned its power. Merchants whispered of human justice. Pirates fled from human space. Traders began to call Earth not weak, but strong. Some even sought secret alliances, hoping to survive under humanity's shadow. But humanity itself remained silent. They did not send messages of triumph. They did not boast of their victory. Their fleets returned to orbit. Railguns resting in silence, their people rebuilt. Their factories still worked. Their engineers still improved. Humanity did not act like conquerors. They acted like guardians waiting for the next storm. The council could not understand it. One leader hissed, "They should have demanded tribute. They should have enslaved us, they should have shouted their power to the stars, yet humanity did none of these things." And that silence frightened the empires more than any weapon. For it was not the silence of weakness, it was the silence of strength. In private meetings, fear turned to confession. An elder from the crystalline species spoke softly. We have made a mistake older than time itself. We mocked what we did not understand. We believed age made us wise. But pride blinded us, humanity warned us, but we called their words a joke. Now the galaxy pays for our laughter. The reptilian general lowered his eyes. Scales dull. I once called them children with stones. Now I know the stones they throw are heavier than suns. Meanwhile, across alien worlds, people rioted. Citizens demanded answers. Families cried for sons and daughters lost in the Armada. Crowds screamed in anger outside council halls. Why did you send them to die? Why did you mock the humans? Why did you not listen? For the first time, the leaders of the galaxy felt powerless. A secret message reached the chamber. It was from a human envoy. His words were simple. We told you not to cross our borders. We told you not to test us. You ignored every warning. This is the price of pride. We will not attack further. But we will not forgive easily. Do not return. The words fell like a hammer. No boasting, no threat, no demand. Just cold truth. The council sat in silence, staring at one another, knowing their time of laughter was over. Humanity had spoken once, and their weapons had spoken louder than all. Across the galaxy, legends began to form. Children whispered of human ships that fired thunder without sound. Traders told stories of slugs moving faster than light. Pirates swore never to cross Earth's path again. Humanity was no longer the joke of the stars. Humanity was the shadow every empire feared. Yet humanity itself did not smile. They rebuilt their ships, buried their dead, and watched the stars. They knew pride would return. They knew the galaxy would not forget its shame. They knew one day another storm would come. And so they stood ready, firm and silent in the halls of power. Regret drowned the leaders. They had mocked railguns. They had laughed at warnings. They had sent thousands to die for their pride. And now their people cursed them. Now their empires shook. Now their power was broken. The galaxy had changed forever. Not through conquest, not through fire, but through the silence of a race that had been mocked too long. Humanity had stood firm, and the galaxy regretted too late. The final silence. The stars burned quietly, as if even the heavens feared to speak. The wreckage of the Grand Armada drifted across space. twisted bones of once proud fleets, shattered proof of arrogance. Humanity did not touch the ruins. They left them where they were, silent warnings for all who passed. On Earth, there was no celebration. Factories still rumbled, fleets still trained, but the people moved with calm purpose. Children played under the same sky. Farmers worked their fields. Soldiers drilled in silence. Humanity had won, but they did not shout. They had survived, and that was enough. The galaxy, however, could not move on so easily. In every hall of power, in every alien capital, whispers filled the air. The railguns, they said. The humans, they said, no longer spoken with laughter, but with fear. Merchants told stories of human warships with barrels longer than towers. Pirates told tales of slugs that crossed the void faster than thought. Ordinary citizens told their children, "Do not anger Earth, do not mock the humans." They remember in the council chambers, silence ruled. Once a place of arrogance and noise. Now it felt like a tomb. The insectoid speaker no longer mocked. His claws trembled when he spoke. We thought them children, yet they were giants. The reptilian general lowered his head. We sent thousands to die for our pride, and humanity buried them with iron. A crystalline elder, glowing faintly, whispered what all feared to admit. The humans are not conquerors, they are not tyrants. They are something worse, they are patient. They strike only when forced, and when they strike, no one survives. The council voted on whether to send another fleet. Some voices cried for revenge, their pride still burning, but most stayed silent. Their empires were weak, their people angry, their fleets broken. In the end, the council chose the only path left. They stayed away. Across the stars, smaller races made their choices. Some sent envoys to Earth seeking friendship, some hid in fear, never daring to cross human borders. Some dreamed of alliances, hoping humanity's shadow would shield them, and humanity listened but said little. Their silence was louder than treaties, their calm stronger than promises. Generations began to change in alien schools. Children studied the battle of the railguns in markets. Traders sold models of human slugs as charms of protection. On distant worlds, people prayed not to their gods, but to the memory of human patience. Humanity had become not just a power, but a legend. Yet Earth itself remained humble. The leaders of humanity sat in quiet halls. They looked upon their people and their fleets and said, "We did not ask for war. We only asked for respect. If they come again, we will answer. Until then, we wait." And so humanity waited. Railguns rested in silence. Fleets moved like shadows across the void. Soldiers stood ready but did not march. Humanity had no need to prove anything more. They had already spoken. They had spoken through silence, through patience, through unstoppable thunder. The galaxy never forgot. Long after the wreckage of the Armada had turned to dust, long after the council leaders had fallen to time, the memory lived. It was not the story of plasma storms, not the story of antimatter bombs. It was the story of simple slugs fired from barrels of steel, carrying the weight of human will. The joke had ended, the laughter had died, and all that remained was silence, the kind of silence that filled the stars, the kind of silence that lived in the hearts of every alien who dared to think of humans as weak. In the end, the galaxy learned a lesson written not in words but in iron. Humanity did not rise with boasts. Humanity did not conquer with fire. Humanity stood firm, silent, and patient. And when the time came, they fired once, and the galaxy remembered forever. It was the final silence. The silence of respect, the silence of fear, the silence of a joke turned into legend. Humanity had railguns, and the galaxy regretted too late.